Welcome to Universe of Love and Anime, where heartfelt love stories come alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to spread love and hope. Thank you for joining us now. Let's dive into today's touching story. Growing Heart Chapter 1. The breakup that shattered Meihei was everything a woman could ever hope for: young, promising, full of integrity. The perfect boyfriend. But as the wedding date drew near, Juliano suddenly confessed, "I don't want to lose the person I love." With those words, he left me and rushed into marriage with a cheerful, charming young apprentice. Crushed and heartbroken, I walked away, carrying my pain with me. 3 years later, at a glamorous celebrity party, fate brought us face to face again. Juliano no longer had the vibrant glow of the highborn young man I once knew. As he approached me, his voice was hesitant. "Can we talk?" I smiled faintly, my tone calm but distant. "No. My husband is waiting for me." Earlier that evening, as I entered the grand hall, I overheard whispers that caught me off guard. "I heard Jenny is back," one voice said. "Wasn't it Jenny who suggested the breakup?" another added. It was the first time I learned how the story had been twisted. My heart tightened as memories from 3 years ago rushed back. The day Juliano had looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Jenny, let's break up." He had continued, "You only live once, and I don't want to lose the person I love. Besides, Jenny, you're too rigid and boring." At the time, I believed it was a moment of impulsiveness. But the very next day, he posted his marriage certificate online with a caption, "You only live once." That was when I realized he hadn't been arguing, had made up his mind. With my spirit crushed, I dropped out of school and left the country to continue my studies abroad. But I never imagined he would later tell everyone that it was me who ended things, while basking in sympathy and admiration, painting me as the ambitious, cold, and ungrateful woman. An old friend recognized me and approached, breaking my thoughts. "Why are you so late?" she asked. "Business kept me," I replied calmly. As we chatted, the others examined me closely, making polite remarks laced with envy. "We haven't seen each other for years, and you just keep getting more beautiful. Your skin is glowing," one said. "Of course," another added sarcastically. "Now that you're a violinist, you're completely different from us socialite wives." I smiled discreetly, sensing the sharpness behind their compliments, and skillfully steered the conversation elsewhere. Moments later, someone whispered, "Juliano's here." 3 years ago, Juliano would have stood out effortlessly in any crowd. But now, exhaustion clung to him like a shadow. A friend leaned in and whispered, "Though Juliano is in charge of the family now, his life at home is a mess." Before I could respond, Juliano's eyes locked onto mine. He froze for a moment, then walked slowly toward me. "It's been a long time," he said softly. I nodded coldly. Our friends, sensing the tension, tactfully stepped aside, leaving us alone. It was the first time we'd stood face to face since the breakup. I never imagined our reunion would happen like this. Juliano spoke first, his tone casual as if speaking to an old friend. "You seem to be doing well." "More or less," I replied. "I heard you're about to give a concert." "Congratulations on fulfilling your dream." "Thank you," I said with a slight smile. An awkward silence followed, thick and heavy. Finally, Juliano broke it. "What happened back then was my fault. I was immature and selfish." My voice was steady as I replied, "It's all in the past." Just as Juliano was about to say more, a bubbly voice interrupted us. "Surprise, love." A woman threw herself against his back. Juliano pursed his lips, his face stiff, gently pushing her away. She quickly wrapped her arm around him and extended her hand to me with a bright smile. "Hi, I'm Juliano's wife, Maria." This wasn't our first encounter. 3 years ago, I had seen Maria at Juliano's company. Back then, she was simply a young apprentice he mentioned casually as someone he was close with. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but looking back now, the signs had been there. Out of courtesy, I shook her hand lightly. "You two talk, I'll be right back," I said politely and excused myself. In the restroom, I checked my reflection and saw an unread message on my phone. "If you don't come out soon, I'll come find you," the message read. I quickly replied, "Give me 10 more minutes." The response came swiftly. "All right, but you'll make it up to me tonight." Chapter 2. Cracks behind the curtain. As I stepped out of the restroom, I passed a break room with the door slightly ajar. Out of instinct, I glanced inside and saw Juliano scolding Maria, his expression sharp and weary. "Can you stop embarrassing yourself at these events? Go home. I have things to handle." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes as she cried out, "What things?" "Jenny's back, and you want to rekindle what you had with her." "I won't allow it, Juliano. I left with you right after graduating. How can you treat me like this now?" Giuliano's voice was filled with exhaustion. "I told you, there's nothing between us anymore. Why can't you believe me?" But Maria wouldn't back down. "You've known her for nearly 20 years, since childhood. How do you expect me to believe you?" Yes, Juliano and I had grown up together, sharing nearly 2 decades of friendship. But even that couldn't compete with one single sentence. "I don't want to lose the person I love." Maria knew his heart better than anyone. She knew exactly how his feelings had shifted. How could she trust him to leave us alone together? But all of this no longer concerned me. I returned to the main hall, where my friends pulled me into conversation. Not long after, Juliano and Maria came back as well, taking their seats across from me. The once light-hearted atmosphere grew tense. Then, out of nowhere, Maria pointed at my neck with feigned surprise. "Oh, Jenny, did you hurt your neck?" Instinctively, I raised my hand to cover my neck, feeling uncomfortable. "No, I'm fine," I replied, but Maria leaned in closer, trying to pull my hand away to check. Chapter 3. The ring that should have stayed buried, so why is it red? Maria suddenly grabbed my hand, exposing the marks beneath my high collar. The traces from last night were still faintly visible. She cast Juliano a meaningful look, as if confirming her suspicions. I adjusted my collar, clearly annoyed, while the others at the table exchanged uncomfortable glances. They were all adults and could recognize her provocation, but Maria pretended not to notice and continued with fake innocence. "Jenny, it's been years since you broke up with Juliano. Do you have someone new now?" Before I could respond, Juliano cut in under his breath. "Yes." Then, turning to Maria, he warned through gritted teeth, "If you keep this up, I'll have you taken home right now." Maria pouted in mock offense. "I'm just concerned for your friend. I meant no harm." Giuliano's patience snapped. "Shut up." As he tried to apologize to me, I stood up first, my voice cold. "I have things to do. I need to leave." I had barely made it to the car when a pair of arms wrapped around me, and a deep, magnetic voice whispered against my ear, "You're 1 minute late." I let out a soft laugh, half frustrated. "Hudson, you're too much sometimes." He smirked, his voice teasing. "I think I've been very understanding. I even let you see your ex." At his question, "Are you coming over to my place tonight?" I nodded. As we walked, Hudson suddenly stopped, gently held my chin, and kissed me. When our lips parted, I glared at him. "Hudson." He grinned, obviously in a great mood. "Yes, I'm here." He put his arm around my waist, walked me to the car, and carefully closed the door. Before walking away, he glanced toward the living room with a subtle curve of his lips. Following his gaze, I saw nothing unusual and asked, "What are you looking at?" He chuckled softly. "Nothing. Just admiring the view. This place isn't bad." I didn't think much of it, replying, "Yeah, it's quite nice." The next day, my friend Gloria called. After some casual catching up, her tone suddenly shifted. "Jenny, I heard Juliano and Maria had a huge fight last night. He even brought up divorce. And everyone still believes you were the one who broke up with him, yet he married her immediately afterward. What a prize he is." I sighed. "Gloria, it wasn't me who ended things." I told her exactly what Juliano had said to me that night. Furious, Gloria exploded, "That bastard's been blaming you for years while playing the victim. I can't let this go. I am clearing your name right now." But I stopped her. "Let it go, Gloria. It's all in the past now. Yet that conversation stirred memories I had long tried to bury. I remembered that night all too clearly. I had cooked all of Giuliano's favorite dishes, but he didn't come home until nearly 11. Without even glancing at the dining table, he went straight into his study. I called out, "Why don't you eat before working?" He replied coldly, "I already ate." But that night was our anniversary. That morning, he had promised we would celebrate together. Before I could say anything more, his phone rang. As he tried to leave, I stopped him. "Today is our anniversary." He stared at me for a long moment, so long that I thought he might feel guilty. But then he spoke. "Jenny, how about we end this?" I froze. It took me a long time to find my voice. "Why?" He answered coldly, "You're too rigid. Boring. We've known each other since childhood. There's nothing fresh or exciting anymore. Don't you have any hobbies other than reading and playing the violin? You're like a statue, serious and dull. I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this." That night, he walked out and never came back. I stayed up all night alone, only to see him post his marriage certificate the next day. I had still believed he was simply in a bad mood that night, but I was wrong. After the breakup, I sank into deep sorrow. My worried parents sent me abroad to continue my studies and heal. But it wasn't so easy to let go. I began frequenting bars, trying to drown my pain. And that's when Hudson appeared. One night, after I drank myself senseless, he took me to his home and looked after me. The next morning, I woke up panicked, fearing the worst. But he calmly assured me, Hudson, am not the type of man who would take advantage of a woman in that state. Learning that my school was near his company, he often stopped by to take me out for lunch, and we slowly became friends. Our relationship changed half a year ago. After I passed the level 10 violin placement exam, I invited him to dinner. On the way home, he suddenly stopped, looked at me seriously, and asked, "After chasing you for so long, don't you think it's time you became my girlfriend?" I looked at the man standing before me, handsome, talented, and confident, and I agreed, without hesitation. The day Giuliano reached out to meet, I was helping a friend pick out her wedding dress. I gave him the boutique's address. By the time he arrived, I had already changed. He suggested we find somewhere to talk, but I refused. Here is fine. If Hudson, who was fiercely jealous, found out I met Giuliano alone, it would only cause trouble. As I sat down on the couch, a sharp pain shot through my inner thigh, an aftereffect of Hudson's passion from the previous night. I grabbed a soft cushion and discreetly placed it under me before asking, "What's so important that you had to meet in person?" Giuliano pulled out a small jewelry box, opening it to reveal my old engagement ring. "This is yours. I'm returning it." I stared at him coldly. "What's this supposed to mean?" "It's yours. I shouldn't keep it. No one keeps an engagement ring after a breakup." He was only here to disturb my peace. I took a glass of water and drank quickly, but ended up choking and coughing hard. Giuliano hurried to help, but a steadier hand reached me first. Gently patting my back, Hudson's voice sounded calm and firm. "No need, sir. My girlfriend just choked a little." Giuliano frowned deeply. Chapter 4. The breaking point. But if she hasn't eaten anything, how did she choke? Giuliano pressed coldly. Hudson replied calmly, "A fishbone from breakfast got stuck for about 20 minutes. She already spit it out." Giuliano's face stiffened, his knuckles turning white as his fists clenched in silent rage. The two men locked eyes, neither willing to back down. After a tense pause, I finally caught my breath and spoke firmly to Giuliano. "Do whatever you want with the ring. Keep it, throw it away. It doesn't matter to me." As Hudson and I left the store, I gently held his hand, trying to soothe him. "Don't be upset. I didn't know he'd show up with that ring." Hudson's jaw remained tense as he muttered, "You met him alone." I looked up at him and said softly, "But this is your territory, Hudson. He's part of my past. There's nothing between us and never will be." Though his face stayed serious, the faint curl at the corner of his lips betrayed his relief. Clinging to his arm, I whispered, "For tomorrow's concert, I saved you the best seat." He smiled slightly. That's how I like it. The day of the concert arrived. Amidst the crowd, Juliano made his entrance and was led directly to the front row, the seat I had originally reserved for Hudson. Perhaps it was my imagination, but I thought I saw Juliano flash a smug, provocative smile at Hudson. Hudson, however, remained completely unfazed, his eyes calmly watching the backstage area. I quickly called my assistant and gave her instructions. Shortly after, someone approached Hudson, whispered in his ear, and escorted him to the best private box on the second floor. When I glanced back at Juliano, the pride on his face had disappeared, replaced by a dark, brooding expression, but I couldn't care less. After the concert, I waited backstage for Hudson, but to my surprise, Juliano showed up first, holding a bouquet of flowers. "Jenny, you looked stunning tonight." I refused the flowers without hesitation. "Thank you, but I won't accept them. I don't want to create any unnecessary misunderstandings." His voice was slightly bitter. "Are you afraid he'll misinterpret it?"
Yes.
"You've changed," he commented. I replied calmly, "No, I've always been like this. Even when we were together, I kept my distance from other men so you wouldn't have any reason to doubt me." His lips pressed into a thin line, as if recalling the past. "So now you want to distance yourself from me too?" "Exactly." A flicker of pain flashed in his eyes before he quickly masked it. "I came to let you know there's going to be a college reunion soon. Everyone's hoping you'll come." I nodded. I had no reason to miss it. I maintained good relationships with my classmates. As soon as Juliano left, Hudson walked in, his face unreadable. I told him everything that had just happened. He didn't react. "You're going?"
Yes.
I haven't seen my classmates in a long time. Seeing him pretend to be indifferent made me chuckle. I grabbed his hand, smiling. "I want you to come with me. This trip is to prepare for our engagement and wedding anyway. It's the perfect time to introduce you to everyone, and the rumors will naturally die down." On the day of the reunion, Hudson cleared his schedule to accompany me. Just as we were about to leave, Gloria called. "Jenny, I just heard no one is allowed to bring partners today." Apparently, Juliano was the one who arranged this rule. She sounded furious. For years, everyone's been allowed to bring someone. He probably made up this rule to keep Maria from attending, but we both know who he really doesn't want to see. I glanced at Hudson. His eyes narrowed sharply, a cold light flashing as he smiled faintly. Now I'm curious to see just how far he's willing to take this little game. Hudson made a few calls, then we headed out together. When we arrived at the entrance of the private restaurant, he told me, "Go inside first. I'll catch up." Just as I was about to knock, I heard my name from inside. I heard Jenny hooked up with a 60-year-old man abroad. Sure, she's living well now, but she probably landed him by sleeping her way in. With that body of hers, what man wouldn't fall for her? If I had her figure, I'd land a rich guy too. Another voice chimed in. "Juliano, have you ever seen the man she's with?" Juliano responded emotionlessly. "No, I've never seen him." They sneered. "Then the rumors must be true. Good thing you broke up with her when you did. Women like that are trouble." Juliano made the right call, otherwise, who knows how many times she would have cheated. Exactly. Between Maria and Jenny, Maria clearly brings more happiness, right, Juliano? Juliano chuckled coldly. "You can't choose someone boring." That would have been a mistake. Hearing him speak so shamelessly, twisting the truth to feed his fragile ego, made my skin crawl. The man I once knew sensible, composed was gone, replaced by this bitter, petty stranger. Chapter 5. The slap heard around the room. I pushed open the door and walked in. The room fell silent instantly as every pair of eyes landed on me. I walked directly up to Juliano and slapped him across the face. The crisp sound of the slap echoed through the stunned room. Juliano stared at me, his face dark and silent. One of his friends finally broke the tension. "Jenny, what's the meaning of this?" I glared at Juliano and said coldly, "When you broke up with me, you slandered me behind my back." I kept silent because I didn't know the full truth back then. But now that I don't, you still dare to smear my name. You disgust me. Some of his friends tried to defend him. Come on, Jenny. He only spoke a few truths. I clenched my fists, trying to control my rage. Oh, really? What truths? That he dumped me the night before and married someone else the next day? Or that just a few days ago, he came to return my engagement ring, intentionally upsetting me and my fiancé? Confused glances exchanged across the room. Juliano had clearly built up such a perfect image all these years that some were still willing to defend him blindly. Someone said, Jenny, we get it, you haven't gotten over Juliano. But weren't you the one who cheated on him first? Chapter 6. The tables begin to turn. Jenny, you may feel hurt, but don't destroy someone else's family, one of them muttered. But no matter what they said, I didn't move. My gaze remained locked onto Juliano. The tension in the room grew heavier, like a storm about to break. Someone tugged at my sleeve, trying to hint that I should let it go, but I refused. Finally, Juliano spoke, his voice as cold as ever. Jenny, stop clinging to the past. I couldn't help but laugh, a bitter, ironic laugh that sliced through the thick silence. Juliano lowered his gaze, pretending to be magnanimous. Today, everyone made an effort to reunite. Don't ruin the atmosphere. My mind flashed back to years ago when I had brought Juliano home to meet my parents. His perfect manners had impressed them, but once he left, my parents had spoken to me gravely. Jenny, that boy is too calculating. If one day you two don't work out, he'll know exactly how to stick the knife in you. Back then, blinded by love, I had reassured them that Juliano could never hurt me. How cruelly ironic those words felt now. I stared at the hypocritical, disloyal man in front of me, ready to respond, when suddenly, a figure lunged at me. Jenny, I knew it. You can't forget Juliano. After all these years, you're still chasing after someone else's husband? Or maybe that old man you have at home can't satisfy you anymore? Maria shrieked as she charged toward me. She was fast and I didn't have time to react. But before she could lay a hand on me, a strong arm pulled me firmly into his chest. Maria stopped dead, her venomous eyes now examining the man protecting me. And who is this? Another lover, Jenny? Of course, a woman like you, unmarried, can sleep with whoever she wants. But Hudson didn't spare her a glance. His only concern was whether I was hurt. I gently took his hand, turned to Maria, and said icily, Maria, if you're going to create drama, at least pick a better place. This is a college reunion. Please behave yourself. Maria's face twisted, and she instinctively looked at Juliano. Seeing that he didn't defend her, she let out a cold, bitter laugh. But since my husband organized this reunion, if you don't like it, you're free to leave. Gloria's voice cut in sharply. That's right. Juliano organized this event, and specifically said no one could bring a guest.
We all respected that.
Were we supposed to watch you two put on a romantic drama instead? Her words emboldened the classmates who had grown sick of Maria's antics, and one after another, they voiced their disapproval. Maria tried to defend herself, but her panicked rambling only made things worse. Finally, she looked desperately at Juliano, but his face was stone cold. He whispered harshly, Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Just a minute ago, Maria had felt proud that Juliano hadn't kicked her out. Now, she felt like she had fallen into an icy pit. Tears welled up as she pleaded, Love, I'll sit quietly next to you. I won't bother anyone. Please don't make me leave. Gloria stood firm. If none of us brought guests, then no exceptions should be made. And Maria, this rule was your dear husband's idea, remember? Maria shot Gloria a poisonous glare, but couldn't refute her. Then a calm, clear voice rose above the murmurs, capturing everyone's attention. How about I invite you all and your partners to relax for a while on the rooftop of the Golden Palace? All heads turned to Hudson, who many were only noticing for the first time. Who is that? Someone whispered. Jenny, who is he? I took Hudson's arm and smiled. This is my fiancé, Hudson. Gasps rippled through the room. I heard she was with some rich old man trying to fix her reputation, one muttered in disbelief. Gloria couldn't hold back anymore. Oh, please. Use your brains. Who do you think started those rumors in the first place? Silence fell as everyone's eyes slowly turned toward Maria. Maria looked around nervously before settling her gaze on Juliano, who still refused to look at her. Gloria pressed on, her voice dripping with mockery. You are so eager to spread rumors about Jenny. Why so quiet now? Come on, here's the man you've been gossiping about. Let's clear it up face to face. Her words sliced through the air like a knife. I always said, people who share the same bed usually aren't that different. Jenny never wronged you, yet you and your husband took every chance to torment her. Thankfully, she endured it all and found someone who truly deserves her. Unable to handle the humiliation, Maria burst into tears and fled the room. Someone approached me, still in awe. Jenny, is that really your fiancé? I smiled and nodded. I'm so jealous, she sighed. We were all fooled by Maria. You deserve someone much better. She shot a glance at Juliano. Some people cheat and then make others carry the blame. Juliano remained on the couch, expressionless, lost in thoughts no one could read. But his friends weren't done yet. Jenny, where did you find that idiot of a boyfriend? And he's claiming he'll take us to the Golden Palace penthouse? Do you even know who has access to that place? They say the Hudson family heir reserved that, sweetie, it's not open to the public. Why don't you ask your fiancé to show it to us? They laughed mockingly. Next time, hire a more convincing actor, Jenny. Don't embarrass yourself like this. Juliano shot a brief glance at Hudson, but quickly looked away. Gloria came up beside me. Jenny, let's go. They can stay if they want, but I'm not missing a chance to see the Golden Palace penthouse. Her words sparked movement. Several others stood up, eager to join us. Suddenly, Juliano, who had stayed silent until now, spoke up. Jenny, there's no need to make this into a spectacle. If you really want to go, I can make a call and arrange it. After everything I had witnessed since my return, I had finally seen Juliano's true colors. I rejected him coldly and walked out with the others, partially driven by curiosity. Juliano's friends trailed behind, including Juliano himself. When we arrived at the Golden Palace, as Hudson stepped aside to take a call, Juliano approached me quietly. You've changed. You never cared about such superficial things before. Chapter 7. The moment of truth. I knew exactly what Juliano meant with his subtle jabs. Back when we were together, whenever he was busy with business dinners or social engagements, I never disturbed him. I never asked him for anything, not even for a small favor using his connections. I was always careful not to overstep, and yet, here he was, trying to undermine me once again. His gaze shifted toward Hudson, who was still on the phone not far away. Jenny, he's not for you, Juliano said, his voice dripping with arrogance. I couldn't hold back any longer and interrupted him sharply. That's for me to decide. Don't concern yourself with my choices. Juliano frowned. What's the point of contradicting me? You should be more worried about how you're going to cover up his lies so you don't embarrass yourself in front of your former classmates. He truly believed, just like his friends always told me, that after him, I could never find anyone better. In his mind, Hudson couldn't possibly match up to him. After all, what successful young man would ever take interest in someone as dull and boring as me? But I simply smiled, because I knew better than anyone who Hudson really was. In fact, the Golden Palace itself belonged to his family. Reserving the penthouse required nothing more than a word from him. Hudson took longer than expected on his call, and when he returned, his expression was serious. Juliano glanced at him and said indifferently, The penthouse requires a reservation. Should I call to see if anything is available? Without waiting for a reply, he stepped aside to make the call. I turned to Hudson and quietly asked if something was wrong. He reassured me it was just a work matter. Moments later, Juliano returned, his eyes glinting with false victory. I guess we'll need to change seats. The penthouse is already booked by someone else. But Hudson remained perfectly calm. No need, he said with a faint smile. Everything's already prepared. Let's go up. Juliano attempted one last time to stop us. Jenny, don't go with him. You'll only embarrass yourself if things go wrong. As he reached out to pull me back, Hudson smoothly wrapped his arm around my waist and pulled me close, his protective gesture making the entire room turn their attention toward us. Sensing the rising tension, Giuliano's friends couldn't resist mocking Hudson. He actually thinks he can get into the penthouse? Who does he think he is? Everyone knows that place is impossible without connections. They laughed, looking at Giuliano. Giuliano, you know Manager Lou, right? Why don't you call him again and see if he'll let your friend take a peek at least? Manager Lou appeared just then, but instead of approaching Giuliano, he walked straight toward Hudson. The others were confused. Manager Lou? You've got the wrong person. Giuliano's right here, one of them said. But Manager Lou ignored them, bowing slightly to Hudson. Thank you for your patience, sir. I'll escort you upstairs immediately. Hudson nodded, completely composed. Thank you for your trouble. Giuliano's friends still believed it was some kind of mix-up. Lou, you made a mistake. He was the one who called you earlier. Manager Lou finally glanced at Giuliano, frowning slightly. Oh, Giuliano, you're here too? Did you want to visit the penthouse? Unfortunately, it's already reserved by my young master's family. If you want it, you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Then turning back to Hudson, he smiled. Sir, everything is ready. Please allow me to lead the way. Murmurs spread quickly through the group. Don't tell me that's him? The atmosphere shifted instantly as realization dawned on everyone. No one, including Giuliano, had imagined that Hudson was actually the young master himself. He had lived abroad for years, and few people in the country truly knew him. That night, Giuliano and his friends tried to keep up appearances until the gathering ended, while Gloria and the others quietly savored every moment of their embarrassment. Thanks to that unforgettable scene, Giuliano's reputation took a serious hit among his social circle. But that was only part of the story. After the reunion, Hudson grew busier as he started managing more of his family's business affairs. Despite his heavy schedule, he always found time to message me, surprise me with little gifts, or take me out whenever possible. If I hadn't dropped by his office unexpectedly one day, I would have never found out that he and Giuliano had gotten into a physical fight. When I walked in, he instinctively tried to hide the bruises, but with no way to escape, he confessed. Giuliano had summoned him, and without much pretense, they exchanged harsh words, leading to a fierce confrontation. Quietly, I began applying ointment to his injuries. Are you angry? Hudson asked. How could I be? I replied, though I accidentally pressed too hard, making him wince. He wrapped his arms around me gently and explained, This is how men resolve things. He won't bother you again, I promise. I looked at him seriously. Giuliano belongs in the past. He's not worth your time. Hudson smiled tenderly, but what if that someone still thinks about you? I answered coldly, that's his problem. I don't control his mind. Hudson looked into my eyes softly. Don't get upset now. Besides, he didn't hit me that hard. I let him land a few punches in places you can't see. My gaze landed on the bruise near the corner of his lips. And you let him hit you where it shows? Hudson didn't deny it. It's my way of letting you worry about me. Then he said, I have to travel for work tomorrow. Will you come with me? I initially shook my head, but seeing the concern in his eyes, I finally relented and agreed. What I didn't expect was that during that trip, we would cross paths with Giuliano and Maria once again. The hotel we stayed at featured a luxurious hot spring spa. While I was relaxing there, I overheard Maria's voice carrying from nearby as she chatted with a friend. That Jenny just won't give up. She thinks that having a handsome boyfriend will pull Giuliano away from me. Ha! She already forgot how easily I stole him from her the first time. She's too stupid to even realize that most of the money she's too afraid to spend ends up in my pocket anyway. Giuliano says she's boring and dull, but really, she's just pathetic. Her friend chimed in. Well, you've got him wrapped around your finger. Maria laughed proudly. Don't even get me started. Ever since she returned, I've had to be at 200%, or I'd lose my place as his wife. If she hadn't come back, I wouldn't need to follow Juliano around like a shadow. At the critical moments, a woman needs to know when to cry, scream, or even threaten suicide. And just like that, I finally heard what Juliano truly thought of me. Turns out his insults from years ago were only the tip of the iceberg. Yet if he despised me so much, why had he kept chasing me since my return? After returning from the business trip, I went straight to the study and pulled out a sealed box that had sat untouched since I went abroad. Inside were all the mementos from my relationship with Juliano. If it hadn't been for what I overheard from Maria, I might have never opened it again. Carefully, I removed an old cell phone and several memory cards. Chapter 8. The Scandal Erupts. I threw everything else away without looking back. The memory card still worked. I charged the old phone, and to my surprise, it powered on smoothly. I transferred all the data into my computer, and after reviewing what I had discovered, I quietly dialed a number. The next morning, I was jolted awake by shouting coming from downstairs. Giuliano's parents had shown up, causing a scene in the living room and demanding answers. When I came downstairs, already fully dressed, Giuliano's parents rushed to grab my hands, their faces filled with desperation. "Jenny, you're such a generous woman. Can't you show mercy to Juliano?" his mother pleaded. "Yes, Jenny," his father chimed in. "You've shared so much together. Must you leave him cornered like this? Please, take the videos down from the internet." I calmly withdrew my hands from theirs and moved to stand beside my parents. "Tell me, did Juliano send you here?" They fell silent. I spoke gently but firmly. "Please tell him I am simply seeking justice. Nothing more, nothing less." His parents stared at me, completely speechless, not expecting me to be so forthright. I continued, my voice steady. "Juliano was the one who betrayed me first, then spread slanderous lies about me, and after all that, he physically attacked my fiancé." Before I could even finish, my mother suddenly stood up, her voice rising in fury.
What?
"My son-in-law was assaulted? And you dare come here playing the victim?" My father's face darkened as he slammed his fist on the table. "Enough. Your son not only wronged our daughter, but had the audacity to raise his hand against her fiancé? And now you come asking for favors? Butler, escort them out." The butler acted swiftly. Before Giuliano's parents could react, they were already being shown the door, left standing helplessly on the street as they tried to plead one last time for me to delete the evidence. But it was far too late. Ironically, I hadn't even known those videos and chat logs existed until I overheard Maria boasting about them. She had mocked me for being so naive, for trusting Juliano so completely, never checking the security cameras or questioning his so-called work phone, which was, in reality, their secret device for flirting. I would never have imagined that the man I had once loved so deeply would leave such damning evidence lying around, like a ticking time bomb. After the incident, my mother, who had always adored Hudson and regarded him as her ideal son-in-law, couldn't hold back her frustration. "Your son's not as capable as you think, so let him handle his own mess. Don't come begging us for favors now." Her words stirred bittersweet memories. Back when Juliano married Maria in such a hurry, I had sunk into deep despair. My parents had even approached his family back then, begging them to speak to Juliano on my behalf, hoping he might reconsider. And what did they say at the time? "Our son is excellent. He has plenty of women pursuing him. If he had to care for every ex, when would he even have time to work? Your daughter was with him for only 2 years. It's not like she lost everything. She's beautiful. Surely, she'll find someone better." Now, the tables had finally turned. For the first time, my parents could hold their heads high. Not only did they not blame me, but they praised me instead. "You did the right thing. We're so proud of you. If we had known you were holding on to that evidence, Juliano would have faced his karma much sooner." My father then asked, "By the way, Jenny, has Juliano tried contacting you again?" I shook my head, but 2 days later, Juliano did reappear. The materials I had provided to my journalist friend had exploded across all major media platforms. For days, the scandal remained at the top of trending searches. According to Gloria, Juliano had been scrambling desperately, trying to extinguish the firestorm, even losing several crucial projects in the process. Meanwhile, Hudson casually mentioned to me that he had just secured some major contracts, his career flourishing as Juliano's crumbled. Gloria sighed as we chatted. Who would have thought Juliano was like this? Thank God you got out when you did. Otherwise, you'd be dragged through the mud right alongside him. She continued, Maria used to throw tantrums daily, but now that Giuliano's in real trouble, she's conveniently gone into hiding. I listened quietly, the images from those damning videos flashing vividly in my mind. While I was still living under the illusion that Giuliano was working late nights at the studio, he was actually bringing Maria into my home, making themselves comfortable as a couple on the very couch I had carefully picked out for us. They kissed and whispered sweet nothings while I waited alone, thinking he was sacrificing for his career. He would stay up all night, but not because of work instead. He spent those hours talking to Maria on the phone until dawn. And I never suspected a thing. Chapter 9. Closure and New Beginnings. That night, I stayed late working at the studio. As I walked out, I noticed Giuliano leaning against a car on the sidewalk, a pile of cigarette butts scattered around his feet. The moment he saw me, he strode over. Up close, I realized Gloria had actually understated his appearance. Giuliano looked completely disheveled. The suit that once fit him perfectly was now wrinkled and stained, his hair was a mess, and the heavy dark circles under his eyes revealed many sleepless nights. "Can we talk?" he asked. "No," I replied coldly. "My fiancé is waiting for me." He rubbed his temples with frustration. "It was you, wasn't it? You leaked those videos and chats. Did you have to be so cruel?" I took a small step back, creating more distance between us. "This isn't about cruelty. I simply fought for justice for myself." His face hardened. "Do you realize you've completely ruined my life?" I met his eyes without hesitation.
Yes.
"I do." His voice trembled, a mixture of resentment and self-pity. "Jenny, I thought you were different. But you're more poisonous than I imagined." "Yes, I made mistakes. But haven't you made any over all these years?" This was the first time we had truly spoken about the breakup and its aftermath. Even now, he still didn't see his own fault. In his mind, it was my fault for being boring, my fault for exposing him, my fault for shattering his career. But where had I truly gone wrong? "Jenny, I'm a man. Your indifference made me feel invisible. Do you know what it's like to feel useless?" "No," I replied coldly. "Because if you had fallen out of love, you could have just told me. Instead, you cheated, lied, and slandered me." He tried to cut me off. I didn't, but I stopped him. "You were chasing excitement, Giuliano. That's why you ended things with me one night and married someone else the very next day. And to cover up your selfishness, you accused me of cheating, didn't you? We're adults. Enough of your games. After tonight, we're even." At that moment, we heard hurried footsteps. It was Maria. She had followed him, but froze when she saw us together. Giuliano's face twisted with irritation. "What are you doing following me?" Maria's voice trembled, tears already gathering in her eyes. "I'm sorry, love. I didn't mean to," but then her gaze snapped toward me, her voice filled with rage and panic. "It was you, wasn't it? You heard my conversation that day. Jenny, how wicked can you be? Are you determined to destroy Giuliano completely?" I stared at her distorted, desperate face, then calmly turned my back and walked away without another word. At that moment, Hudson appeared from behind the car, wrapped his arm around me, and gently helped me into the car. His voice carried a hint of jealousy. "If I hadn't come tonight, would you have stayed up all night talking to him?" I smiled playfully. Who knows? His expression darkened immediately. That night, he refused to let me go home. Instead, he spent the night relentlessly testing my self-control with his teasing and irresistible games. As our wedding date approached, both of our families were overwhelmed with joy. Every day was filled with preparations, meetings, and endless blessings from friends and relatives. On the morning of the wedding, while I was getting my makeup done, Gloria slipped into the room, unable to contain her excitement. I just saw Juliano outside, she whispered. He's completely unrecognizable now. I had already heard some bits and pieces from Hudson, though he never let me investigate too deeply. All I knew was that Juliano was having a hard time. His company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Did you know Juliano asked Maria for a divorce? But her family won't allow it. They've got too much leverage on him. They're blackmailing him to keep them together. Gloria shook her head in disbelief. Even if they don't divorce, everyone knows Giuliano's no longer the man he once was. And Maria? As unstable as ever. But thankfully, none of that concerns you anymore. Arm in arm with my father, I walked down the aisle toward the man who had been waiting for me all along. Hudson's gaze locked onto mine with unwavering devotion. His eyes spoke without words a vow of eternal love and protection. In that moment, everything, the betrayals, the heartbreak, the pain, finally felt like distant memories.
I had closed that chapter of my life.
And as I took Hudson's hand, I knew I was stepping into a future where happiness was no longer borrowed, but truly mine.
The end.
Thank you so much for following Jenny and Hudson's incredible journey with us here on Universe of Love and Anime. From betrayal and heartbreak to justice and true love, their story reminds us that even after the deepest wounds, happiness and healing are still possible. If you enjoyed watching Jenny finally find the love and respect she truly deserves, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories filled with romance, drama, and emotional twists. And if you know someone who would love this story as much as you did, feel free to share it and spread the love. Thank you once again for being part of our universe of love. See you in the next chapter of Love and Destiny.